2024. This is the Arlington County Board of Equalization hearings. We have 3 cases on the agenda and 6 members present for a quorum. The first case we're going to go over is RPC 1504611 at 3140 17th Street North. Mr. Yusuf, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about this property, sir.
Thank you, dear members of the board. I thank you for listening to me today. It is my belief that the assessment of a property must be based on fairness, transparency, and most of all, market value. I'm here today because my little 2-bedroom house in Line Village has an assessment higher than it deserves. I consulted with several real estate professionals and received reports from 5 realtors and an appraiser, all pointing to a lower value. Here are a couple of quotes from the appraiser. In its present condition, the property is significantly impaired. The property's external and functional obsolescence, general and problematic, makes it a candidate for demolition and rebuilding. It is not economic to repair or refurbish it. I have invited the appraiser, Mr. Phillips, to the call in case there are any questions, though he just informed me that he's having trouble connecting. Before I respond to the letter, I would like to briefly point out some things to consider throughout the hearing. The setback requirements of my corner lot restrict the possibility of expanding the house. So does the semicircle shape of the parcel, which is why we were not able to expand the sunroom when we worked on it back in 2014. The house and land suffer functional obsolescence or impairment. 2 bedrooms is a small number of bedrooms to have when we are talking about a 2-story detached house in Line Village. It is not ideal. In response to the comments in the county's thorough letter, I quote, "Without an inspection, no changes were made for water runoff from neighboring properties." They have inspected, in fact, multiple times. And I had filed this issue with the county back in 2016 and 17 when it was being constructed. I also submitted photos which show the height of that property and the associated issues with the basement. I would like to do a screen share at this point of some of the photos that we have already submitted to more effectively make the point with your permission. May I?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So it seems like I cannot share for some reason. I have to move to the entire screen. I apologize for this technical glitch. But as you would see in these photos, this is the property at the back. There's a steep slope of over 2 feet directing all of the runoff water to us, and the lowest point sits another 1.5 feet above our garage, which is in this next picture as you see, routinely flooding it even after we have put mitigating measures. In spite of all this wall and raising behind the concrete to protect the storage garage. The situation in the basement is much worse, and the photos tell it all. It routinely gets water, the floor is completely damaged, and it is no longer usable. Even in the stairs that go to the basement, you can see the first step is completely wet. It's not just the runoff water, it oozes from down from the channels that exist in Line Village. But the assessor's comments, the basement itself appears to be usable from the photo.
Your phone's muted.
I think you're muted, sir.
I'm not sorry
There
about
you
that. I don't know when it got muted and when the screen share stopped, but if I can go back to it, if you will allow me a little bit of leeway, my inability with the screen, I hope you can still see the screen.
Okay, let's move along.
I don't know what I was saying when it stopped,
The
but it is
deferred
not
maintenance in the basement.
right. So as you see, the basement is severely damaged. Even the stairs are wet because water is not just coming in through runoff, it is also coming in, seeping in through from the channels that exist in Lime Village. Then there is a comment from the appraiser that the sump pump is not connected. It is not that the sump pump is not simply connected, it's that the 1938 foundation has no waterproofing. No pipe has been laid around it to collect water to bring to the sump. Hence, routine water seepage in the basement, much exacerbated since the new build behind me. Concerning the comment about functional obsolescence, many of these, I'm quoting, many of these are maintenance issues of owning a home. Our appraiser knows that the kitchen is narrow and small. It is only 74 square feet and needs a rebuild. What maintenance will resolve the issue that it is too small? What maintenance will resolve the fact that two of the bathrooms are under 30 square feet, or that there is a limited closet space, etc., etc.? The assessor does not even address the need to replace the roof or the windows. As you can see in this picture, this is the original roof in pretty bad shape, and the windows are not even windows. These are sash kits which are well beyond their life, many of which leak. We did not even match the floor for cost reasons in the sunroom when we had to rebuild after the roof collapsed. And that's the condition of one of the bathrooms, which we are still using because only two of the showers are functional in the house. There are then courts of other properties. I would like to take you through two of them. This one is 18 North Garfield Street. This was sold for 1.175 million, bought by a builder who gutted it, added 1,900 square feet. It is now 4,300 square feet, 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom, has been on sale for over 3 months. He's trying to sell it for 1.6 million. That's what you can buy in Lime Village for around the valuation of 1.6, around where the county had placed us. Look at the size of this kitchen and the bathrooms that they have in there. The second picture, this is also showing that was gutted to the walls and rebuilt 4,300 square feet. Next one is 205 North Fillmore. It is completely modern inside. Look at this big open kitchen, Wolf and Sub-Zero appliances, made completely to modern standard as compared to ours. There are other appraisals which he notes, but all of those are present in our appraisal. They have been considered. There's another comment concerning the appellant's offers from the agents appear to mainly be attempting an off-market sale of the property to flip or demolish the existing property or quickly doing work. We don't know how the county assessor knew this. Did he interview the real estate agents? These are distinguished people, well known in the area.
Time is up.
Okay, I'm going to give you a minute to finish up, sir.
Thank you so much. These are well-known people, including Billy Buck Associate from Billy Buck Associates and David Cabo, who is ranked #1. The appraisal also contains a separate site valuation done through sale of comparisons, all of which are lower than the county's land valuation. In conclusion, I do not see where the assessor fully acknowledged or addressed the property's functional and external obsolescence. And while them reducing it by $10,000 is a step in the right direction, it is still a number that is higher than a buyer would likely pay if I placed my house for sale in December. I thank you again, and Mr. Phillips, assuming he has been able to join, will be available to address any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. King for the county, please. Can you take your screen share down? Thank you.
There we go. Good morning, board. 3140 17th Street North is a 2-story single-family home in Lime Village with 2 bedrooms, 4 full bathrooms, and a finished basement. We initially had not been able to work out an inspection with the homeowner. However, we did inspect the property last Tuesday, the 11th, with the appellant's son. The submitted write-up was completed before the inspection. However, for the most part, the argument put forth in the write-up is the same. There were some slight sketch corrections and a change for the amount of square footage of the basement that was finished, but nothing that led to a reduction in value for 2024. There are quite a few issues brought up by the appellant and in the appraisal report. Many of these are, minor repairs, broken plumbing fixtures, fireplace leaks, broken windows, and roof leaks. These are curable aspects of physical depreciation. These are considered parts of routine maintenance on a property. Excuse me. These kinds of depreciation are controlled through the effective age on the property, which is currently at the year 2000. The appellant referenced the obsolescence of having 2 bedrooms, but the attached email from Realtor David Cabo states that they could quickly perform work on the property and list it as a 4-bedroom property. The water issue seems to be the main focus of the claim for obsolescence. The appellant's son did point out some staining on the basement tiles, although that was the extent of what we saw during the basement inspection. Many homeowners deal with water issues. This would not be outside the norm for what we see in these kinds of older houses. We deal with waterproofing, sump pump, French drain permits every day in the office, especially on a 1930s house. The basement itself seemed to be being used as finished living space, so we saw no need to make any changes for water issues. Overall, the property appears in nice condition from the photos in the appraisal report and during the inspection. The bathrooms have been updated. The kitchen was updated, albeit missing some cabinet fronts. There was the side addition from 2014 that expanded the footprint of the house. The presence of 4 full bathrooms is always a boon for older, smaller homes in the market. And as always for older homes in Lion Village, the majority of the value is in the land. This is a prime location in the county, of course. We feel the comps are strong for the area. The subject is well updated and larger than comps 1 through 3, with more bathrooms and a finished basement, along with the detached garage. The land size for the subject property is also larger than the others. Comp 5 is a land sale just a couple houses away from the subject property, which sold for $1,850,000 in the summer of 2023. So that just shows what land values are going for in the area. Overall, we feel that this is a nicely updated Lion Village property with 4 full bathrooms across two levels plus a finished basement. There may be some minor maintenance issues, but we feel the overall assessment is reflective of the value of the home, and we recommend the board accept the revised value of $1,529,700. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Questions from board members? Mr. Yates. Turn your microphone on, sir.
Always said. To the county, looking at the comps that the appellant presented and your comps, and went by a couple, do you see the quality as being as equal as seems to be indicated?
Expand a bit.
His quality does show more than just a little bit of wear and tear.
Sure. So there's a difference between quality, and effective age. So effective age is going to kind of cover some of the maintenance issues, doing the windows, doing the roof. The quality is really going to be more of trying to pin down, what is the market for this house. So when you start adding those full bathrooms, the buyer for that house is different than the house if it was the original 1,400 square foot, 1 bathroom upstairs, or whatever the original style of the house was. Once you start adding that different kind of square footage, taking down walls, adding full bathrooms, that's where the quality comes in. The house is fundamentally different now, and the market is fundamentally different now than what it was previously. So that's what we're trying to capture with quality versus, maintenance issues that we cover through effective age that go into depreciation.
Okay, Mr. Maskin.
For the department, the appellant has brought up water intrusion from neighbors, the slope of the lawn or whatnot. Is that, if that's the case, and the neighbor's land is such that their water flows to his land, is that something that the county through code enforcement can address, or is that up to individual owners to do what they need to do to keep water away from their foundation?
I actually can't speak to that, Mr. Maskin. I'm not sure what the county regulations are for water runoff.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, other questions? No? Mr. King, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Sure. Again, the main component of this valuation is going to be its location in Lyon Village. Some of the other comps have much lower land values. We're not going to compare it to those. The value is in being in Lyon Village. It's one of the most highly valued land areas in the county. The property is nicely updated. It has an addition. It has 4 full bathrooms and a finished basement, despite possibly some of those minor water issues. There are maintenance issues. Again, it has 24 years of depreciation on the property now to address that. But these are issues we see across all homes, from the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. They do require regular maintenance. But we feel the overall assessment is reflective of the current value of the home and its location. And we recommend the board accept the revised value of $1,529,700. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Youssef, if you take a minute to wrap up, sir.
Thank you. And I would request that you also allow Mr. Phillips to speak after me. The appraiser continues to, belittle and diminish the amount of work that is needed. The appraisal report identifies over $100,000 in repairs which are needed and which are not economic. These are not trivial. You cannot change the obsolescence. He keeps saying 4 bathrooms, 2 of them don't function. And if you are under 30 feet, that is different from the current bathrooms of 130 square feet and more, a couple of which pictures I just shared with you. The water issue cannot be resolved. It's over $70,000 to protect the foundation and put a pipe in there. By the time I do that, it's going to go over 1.7 million. And for that, I can buy anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 square foot, gutted to the studs, almost new home with new standards. I do not agree with this trivialization. He spent only 8 minutes. If you would please allow Mr. Phillips to.
Unfortunately, you've used all your minute time there, sir. So now we're going to move just to the board. Where is everybody on this? Mr. Matzkin.
We're looking, of course, only at the improvement value. It's undisputed that the land values in Lyon Village are robust. And I look at comps 1, 2, and 3, and compare them against the appellants, and I say, the $100,000 difference, that seems too high. I think it's a superior home, the improvement to those first 3 comps, but is it $100,000 or so more? But then I look at comps 5 and 6, and I go, well, maybe that's really placed right in there. And so I am bracketed to saying that probably improvement, having nothing solid to point to, is okay. And second and lastly, we have a long history, as does the department, that deferred maintenance, and that's what we're talking about, are not consequential factors to the value of property. And that's what we have here, a bunch of deferred maintenance. And so I can't absorb that into a conclusion other than it's an appropriate evaluation. Thanks.
Okay, Mr. Yates.
I agree with you, Ken, where you started with that, but I have to question, well, the others have an effective age of 75, 85. He's 2000. I don't see, looking at that, I just don't see the effective age and some of the his quality good plus compared to goods. I think he's overrated. I understand what you're saying with the rest of your conclusion, but I don't know. And I agree. The value of the land's there, but the fact he's $100,000 higher than the other comps and has a higher effective age and a higher quality, something's missing.
So what's your conclusion with all of it?
I do think he's $100,000 lower on the improvement.
You think it should go down? It's comparable to comps 1, 2, 3. Is that what you're saying? His improvement?
Well, yes, and then maybe it's the effective age is the issue or whatever. And I understand deferred maintenance, but he's not in great condition, and comps that are being shown are. And that's just where there's a discrepancy.
Right, I would agree with you, except for the square footage. I mean, it is in line if you look.
Square footage, yes.
You know, and I mean, and that is a factor.
Well, his square footage is pretty good compared to the where's the third one, and you go to the fifth. Oops, I'm sorry. It's the sixth one. The
Yeah,
sixth
the sixth
one.
one's 110,000 higher.
Yeah.
115,000 higher. So, I mean, that seems in line for the square footage. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Mark. You know, my concern again is functional obsolescence and deferred maintenance are two separate things.
But I understand what I'm questioning is the quality being good plus and the effective age.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how he hits that effective age, given the condition of this house, non-functioning bathrooms, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what other folks have to say. Mr. Mendez?
I agree that it's mostly probably deferred maintenance. The addition was 2014, so maybe that adds on to the effective age. But otherwise, I know the county made a couple small adjustments. I'd be okay with their revised number.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Penaranda?
Sorry about that. It was a little bit conflicting for me because I looked at the three comparables, and you know, all three of them have a lower sales price and a lower assessment. But I can see that the effective age, for some, you know, obvious reasons that they already verified, it is higher, and I think it has to be considered that it would have an increased value more than the other comparables. Originally, I thought it would be less than the $1.5 million that it's assessed at, but I don't really see, like, you know, you guys mentioned, most of this stuff that the appellant brought up, it is deferred maintenance that, you know, some homeowners just delaying doing the repairs, and some owners, you know, when a screw is loose, they'll go at it right away. So as far as the assessment itself, the way it is, I think the revised assessment is okay with me.
Okay. Anything different, Mr. Hoffman?
I'm with Mark. I think there should be a minor reduction based on the building value. The land's probably okay. How we get there, I don't know. It's a little crude. I just took the square foot value for comp 1 on the building and applied that to the subject, and got it down to $1,423,675. I'm just like on the high level, I'm just a little uncomfortable with the sale comps of reasonably similar size lots and reasonably similar aged properties all being in the $1,300,000, and then all of a sudden this one would be $1,500,000. It just seems a little bit out of line with the market for small homes. Like the land comp mentioned at $1,500,000 is a 10,000 foot lot. Well, you know, you can build a $4 million house on that land.
Mm-hmm.
You can't build a $4 million house on 7,000 square feet. It'd be very difficult to in Arlington. So I'm kind of just I'm throwing out that comp 5.
Yeah.
All right, so just to clarify, because I don't want it to revert back to the original county. So Ken, where are you?
Well, I'd be in favor of reducing a little bit based on comp 5 as an example, but not $100,000, not 1/3 off the improvement. I think that's not prudent. But if we could point to something to reduce it a little bit under to what the county's revised assessment is for the improvement, I would support that if we have something specific to point to. Maybe it's water intrusion from the neighbors or something, you know, which is not deferred maintenance, which is not the appellant's primary responsibility. If somebody came up with that, I'd be in favor.
Greg, what was your number with that?
1,423,700. It's probably too much for Ken.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right, Mr. Mendez?
I was okay with going with the county's reduced number at 1.5.
Okay.
Yep.
And Mr. Panorama, you are as well?
Yes.
Okay, so the question being then, as am I, Mr. Matskin, if you had to go between the 100,000 off, which you don't, can you live with the revised number then?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to confirm the county's reduced value at 1,529,700.
Okay, that's a reduction. Do I have a second? Mr. Matskin is a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it is 4-2, and that's without Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Yates. The county's revised assessment of 1,529,700 has been confirmed. Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have Julian Mills and Stephanie or Anthony Schwartz?
Yep, Anthony Schwartz.
There you go. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, the next case is RPC 13011045885A North Kensington Street. Mr. Schwartz, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about your property, sir.
Okay, thank you, board, and good morning. My name is Tony Schwartz. My family and I reside at 885A North Kensington Street. Appreciate the opportunity to present information justifying a reduction in my property assessment by $48,000. That is my request. My home is a 20-year-old 2-story cement fiber siding with 5 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, 3,200 feet above ground finished square feet. Mr. Mills described my home quality as excellent. Mr. Vogt, my next door neighbor living in 883 North Kensington Street, appeared before the board on May 22nd. 883 and 885 North Kensington are the same model and size of home. In 2023, Mr. Vogt and I both filed assessment appeals. We were successful in reducing the building value for each of our homes by $111,000. During Mr. Vogt's hearing on May 22nd, a board member asked Mr. Mills why the assessment was reduced last year, not this year. Mr. Mills responded that the quality of each property was reduced at that time. For 2024, my building assessment value increased $85,500. Mr. Mills' analysis states that the effective age of 2004 appears correct due to no interior renovations. He further described the property quality as excellent in 2024. However, he stated on May 22nd, again, the quality of the properties were reduced in 2023. No interior renovation were done on either property over the course of the year to justify raising the quality rating to excellent. It is my belief that the $85,500, which is 12% increase from last year, was because our properties were assessed this year as excellent, as opposed to last year as very good. I have no idea why my quality assessment improved. I did nothing to my home. If anything, my home depreciated. To further support reducing my property assessment by $48,000, I'll quickly highlight 2 comps, 905 North Kensington, built in 2005, 2-story, 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath, 3,429 finished square feet. Quality is excellent. Building value is $252 per finished square foot. This home is a higher rated quality, I think, but less cost per finished square feet than both my home or my neighbor at 883. They have a building value of $264 per finished square foot. 853 North Jacksonville Street, built in 2013, 6-bedroom, 5-bathroom, effective age 2013, quality excellent. Building value $248 per finished square foot. This home is only 11 years old, has a higher rated quality but less cost per finished square foot. Recent sales comps, 5400 8th Road North, sold for 1.5, which is $47,100 less than the county assessed value for 2024. 3254 finished square feet, quality very good, building value of $256 per finished square foot. 83 and 85 North Kensington should have been assessed as very good in 2024, as they were in 2023. That's my contention. If you apply 249 per finished square foot, my building value should be 796,700, thus reducing my overall assessment by 48,000. Thank you for your time and consideration. I appreciate the discussion.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mills for the county, please.
Good morning, board. Today we have 885A North Kensington Street. As the appellant stated, it's a 2-story cement fiber siding, 5-bedroom, 4.5 bath, finished square foot 3,200. Basement finished square foot 1,150. The year built 2003, and the effective age also 2003. Quality is set as excellent in neighborhood 50, 40, 42. In calendar year 2023, 883 and 885A, Kensington Street filed an assessment appeal and were successful in reducing the building value for each home by $111,600. In calendar year 2024, the appellant believes that the assessment disproportionately increased the prior year's building value over 11%, thus recapturing $85,000 of the prior year's decrease. The appellant's neighborhood 50, 40, 42 increased on average on 2.3% due to sales that occurred within the analysis period and within the neighborhood. The subject property's effective age of 2003 appears correct due to no interior renovations. And the property's quality appears correct after reviewing sales, RPC 13 011 043, RPC 13 011 045, as well as RPC 13 012 036. The 11% increase on the improvement value was similar to other excellent quality homes for 2024. The subject property's quality was originally excellent plus last year, but the quality was reduced to excellent. For this case, comparables were used outside of the analysis period due to a low volume of sales, as well as sales being much smaller than the subject property. However, they do demonstrate market value as well as equalization. It is recommended that the 2024 assessment be confirmed at $1,625,000. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Questions from board members? No questions? Okay, Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, just from an assessment standpoint, because it looks like 885A, B, and 883 are like virtually identical just on the surface. Is there any difference for the discrepancy, like any square footage differences or anything that cause a discrepancy in the values?
No, if there is a square footage difference, it's less than 50 square feet. So the only real difference would be the land values in
So
those
is land
properties.
lot size
Yes,
then?
yes,
Okay.
exactly, lot size.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Matzkin.
For the department, the appellant brought up, oh no, you addressed it. I heard the appellant say that his quality was upgraded, and you've said that it was downgraded.
Yeah, that was actually an incorrect statement by the appellant.
Yeah.
Last year, the quality was set at excellent plus,
Yeah,
and then it was reduced to excellent.
Yeah. You answered my question before I asked it.
Mhm.
Thanks.
No problem.
Okay.
Mary,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Penarond, I didn't see you.
it's okay. This is to Mr. Mills. I just wanted to clarify the number on the current assessment. You mentioned to 1,625,000, or is it 1,611,400?
I'm sorry, I gave the wrong number. It's 1,611,400.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no further questions? Okay, Mr. Mills, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Yes, the appellant also noted that the price per square foot of their home were higher than other comps provided, but due to the difference in quality, build year, and effective age, the interior and exterior features of the home, the subject property dollar per square foot is lower than comparable properties. But the county does not use a dollar per square foot formula when assessing properties. the valuation involves just land and improvement values. Like was noted, this house is a part of a small group of homes, which all have similar footprints. And it was reduced last year from the quality of excellent plus to excellent. So it was recommended that the county confirm the assessment at 1,611,400. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Schwartz, if you take a minute to wrap up, sir.
Sure, I would just say it's stunning to me that a home can increase in value by $85,000 in 1 year when no improvements are made to the home at all. I get that there's market fluctuations, interest rate changes, many external factors, but that seems to be an exorbitant rate of increase over the course of 1 year. And it kind of smells of wanting to get the money back that was lost last year by the county, possibly. I'm not sure, but if Mr. Mills, I think, stated that the homes in the neighborhood increased in value by an average of 2.3%. Mine is nearly 12%. Seems out of line to me. So I'm a little bit confused, but just hoping that logic carries the day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, it's just among the board. Where's everybody on this? I mean, I just will state, just to respond to the appellant's, last comment about being stunned that the value went up with no improvements. We do see this all the time when the market increases, the changes aren't necessarily made to the land. And so the only other portion to put it on is the house. So it does not mean that there's been any kind of improvement to the house. It's just the market increasing values. So, Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, Mary, I don't know. I mean, my math, 86,200 increase on the 1,525,000 is only 5.6 or 5.7%.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we see that a lot in neighborhoods
right
across the county in 1 year.
Right, regardless of whether improvements are made to individual homes. So,
yeah.
That's not a concern to me. Okay, other folks? Mr. Mendez?
I'd just like to add that it sold for 1.625 in 2021. So I guess, that was well above the assessed value. So we're just now catching up to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else different? Mr. Penaranda?
No, nothing different really. I just have to agree with pretty much every statement that was made, and also to make a point that whenever we see a higher percentage, or it seems like a higher percentage of increases, when the previous year was, we had a reduction in the value. So that kind of misleads a little bit between what's happening in that property with the neighborhood. I'm okay with the assessment with this.
Okay. All right. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Sure. I'll go ahead and move that we confirm the assessment at 1,611,400.
Okay. I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Greg, are you opposed or you?
No, I was in favor.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see that. Okay. So it's unanimous. The county is confirmed at 1,611,400. Thank you both. And then do we have Ms. Shuttlesworth and Mr.
Good morning.
Conklin? Okay. The last case on the agenda is RPC 1400802A on 9th Street North. Mr. Conklin, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about this property, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for your time today. I'm just going to start my clock so I don't screw up. Excuse me. The property is a 714 unit multifamily property at 850 North Randolph Street, at the intersection of Randolph and Wilson. 714 units. There's about a little less than 13,000 ground floor retail. The current assessed value is $317,231,000 and change. There was Ms. Shuttlesworth pointed out that the rent roll didn't come through. I double when I copied it was double-sided, so I'll get that to you so you have it for your records. It wasn't intentional. Anyway, after taking a look at the test from the county, it appears that the difference in valuation is down to the cap rate. The property was built in 1990. It appears that the county has pretty much ignored cap rate adjustments in their annual review of multifamily properties, and I would imagine other properties as well. I understand there was minimal sales. However, higher cap rates have been in the market for 2 years from today and about 1.5 years before the 1/1/24 date of value. Cap rates started to increase, say mid 2022, to the until now, basically. There's plenty of survey data, sales in other markets, tremendous amount of information out there, obviously, where we all know cap rates have increased significantly, about 100 to 150 basis points from their prior low in the end of 21, beginning of 22, when the Fed started increasing interest rates. The impact wasn't immediate. It did take some time to fully vet through this, fully get through the system, and start lining up buyers and sellers. It was evident as of 1/1/23, no adjustments were made. 1/1/24, no material adjustments were made. Avalon Bay itself sold Columbia Pike, an asset on Columbia Pike, in July of 2023 at a cap rate of 5.5. And cap rates have only increased from that time. Not as material, but at least a quarter of a point to 50 basis points from that sale. That sold for 88% of assessed value, and the county still did not lower it, which is amazing. It's a fair market sale, multiple buyers, reputable broker, on and on and on. In addition, this was, to my understanding, this was fully disclosed to the county. The Point at Falls Church, which was owned by another reputable REIT, it was under contract in November 23, sold in February 24. Again, disclosed to the county is my understanding. It sold at $100 million, and the assessed value was, I believe, 15 to 20% higher than that. Again, I understand that this was not a closed sale, but there was more than enough evidence, given, the sale on Columbia Pike, this asset transaction survey data, which some of which is included in the packet, that indicate values or cap rates starting in the second half of 2022. The DC area for infill was 5 to 5.5, beginning of the first half of 23, 5 to 5.5 still, and then 23 second half, 5.25 to 5.75. In addition, Avalon Bay, in addition to our Columbia Pike transaction, we did start to market Ava Ballston on Washington Boulevard. The assessment's about 130. We had 4 written offers between 110 and 120 million, 6 further verbal offers between 105 and 117 million dollars. Those cap rates are between 5.75 and 6.5. The county is sub 5, I believe at a 4.5, which it's just not reflective of any market transactions. You can't get a 4.5 cap rate as of 1/1/24 in most markets, absent maybe New York City and a couple other places. It's not a relevant cap rate anymore, and they're materially overvaluing these assets. It's real money now. You're talking 15 to 20% over market value on $300 million assets. It appears that the county was literally just protecting the tax base, which is not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to value things at fair market value, right? And I mean equitably, but not not over market value by 15 to 20%. And every piece of evidence, is basically showing that's what occurred. And it really boils down to the inability of the county to adjust cap rates, which as of 1/1/24, again, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that cap rates were not sub 5. And they were not 4.5, they were not 4.25, they were not 4. They were over 5, 5.5, transactions at 5, 8, which is what the Point at Falls Church sold at. And again, our asset that we brought to market that didn't transact, we were getting offers at the lowest of 5.8, and we have a transacted sale at 5.5 with reputable owners, some of the best owners in the country, owner operators. I mean, these assets were well run. Again, multiple bidders, reputable brokers. I mean, it's smacking us all in the face, and it's it makes no sense that the valuation could be 15 to 20% higher than what market value, what market value truly is, what fair market value is. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Shuttlesworth for the county, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So the subject is a high-rise apartment building with 714 units and 12,922 square feet of retail space. It was built in 1990 and it has the same effective age. The property was inspected in June 2023. The appellants are contesting the cap rates. So let me talk about cap rates. Our department considered several factors during 2024 analysis. We analyzed hundreds of and potential rent, vacancies, and operating expenses. We considered sales, publications, and we were provided copies of third-party appraisals, which are in line with our cap rates, which show the cap rates that are in line with our cap rates. We also considered Arlington-specific forces that drive the supply and demand for multifamily markets, such as employment, education, household income. There is evidence that the multifamily market in Arlington has not declined in 2023. Given the fact that the labor force in Arlington is tech-centric, the average annual salaries for renter households are higher than in the rest of the DC metro areas. The most recent data published by the U.S. Census Bureau states that the median household income in Arlington was over $137,000. Just to compare, the median household income in the city of Alexandria was $113,000, and the median household income in Washington, D.C. was $101,000. Despite the increasing rates throughout 2023, the Arlington multifamily market did not slow down. The majority of I&E surveys we received showed increases in monthly rents and decline in vacancy, as well as decline in concessions being offered. We don't state that Arlington is immune to the broad economic forces, and it is likely that the interest rates, inflation, and difficulties in commercial lending might catch up with Arlington's multifamily sector in the near future. We are watching it closely, but as of 2023, we did not see the trend of declining income potential, and the apartments are indeed valued based on the income they can generate. Our cap rates in 2024 commercial guidelines are expressed in ranges, not as one number, just as we can see them in commercial real estate publications. Our unloaded cap rates ranges are 4.74% to 5.49% for the garden apartments, and 4.24% to 5.09% for mid-rise and high-rise apartments. PwC third quarter of 2023 for the Mid-Atlantic region provides the cap rate range of 4.25% to 6.5%. And for the national market review, the stated cap rate range was from 3.7% to 8%. Now, I would like to talk about sales and the sales to assessment ratios. Is it okay if I share the screen showing the 4-year sale history? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on a second. Get this. My apologies. I have so many things open.
If I may, I'm just going to fill the dead space while Annetta brings this up. What Annetta is going to display is the last couple of years of sales. We talked about a slowdown. Mr. Conklin had acknowledged that in 2023, we only saw 5 recorded sales. Mr. Conklin did note that there's one that he's like to talk about, which is the Crescent Falls Church, sold in February. But what we're not talking about are the other 5 properties that sold. So we've already had 5 transactions, 1 extra transaction from last year, pointing to, again, a hotter market than has been relayed upon. Of those 6 sales, only 1 is showing a ASR above 100. So in other words, we have 5 sales that are showing an average of 89% ASR. If we were to talk about last year, even just the sales that we actually considered for 2023 and 2024's assessment, we have an average ASR of 86%. That's including the Jasper. So Jasper showed at 112% ASR. So in other words, 12% over the fair market value per January 1. The other sales from that year, 85%, with the cap rate reported lower than 5.5%. 76% with a cap rate lower than 4.9%, as reported by the NOI. 72% cap rate unreported with no appeal history, no INEs. So we've talked about this. We've said this before. 1 sale does not a cap rate change make. We provided evidence that we are well within the PwC ranges of 3.75 to 8. That's on the National Apartment Market Survey. If you boil it down to Mid-Atlantic, again, third quarter shows 4.25 to 6.5. Again, as Ms. Shuttlesworth displayed, we're at 4.24 to 5.09. That's unloaded. Again, very much within 4.25 to 6.5 range. We've got support from sales. We've got support showing the increase in sales for 2024. We've got support for the last 3 years. Were you able to display that, Anna?
So, yes, let me try again.
I don't think you can see it, but I have it here.
Can you see it now?
Yes. And so you can see there on that screen, anything that's highlighted in yellow obviously is a ASR over 1. You can see the top section is our 2024 sales to date. Right below that lists the 5 sales that we had in 2023. Right below that were the 13 sales we had in 2022. You can see 2022, we had sales as low as what, 50%, 38% of ASR. We had sales below 4% cap. We're not suggesting that we're not in touch with reality of the markets, that 2024 is a different marketplace, but we're not taking into consideration, or I would say the appellants are not taking into consideration the massive absorption, the new number of apartments that are coming on being filled, the increases in rent, the increases in NOI year over year. It kind of belies the logic that they're losing value if they're actually increasing NOI year over year over year. Netta, would you like to wrap up?
Yes, thank you, Chris.
Back on the summary sheet, please.
Yes, so why did we increase the cap rates by only 10 basis points? The decision was based on combination of factors. Again, INEs submitted to us demonstrated a trend of increasing rents. The rent growth also shown in CoStar reports as of December 2023. Our ERC report for the third quarter of 2023 shows the basis point change year over year for the apartment sector as 10. The sale of Jasper Pike was considered. This one sale was not enough for us to increase the cap rates by 30 basis points or more across the board, but it was enough for us to move the needle. Additional information our department consider are the third-party appraisals. We cannot share the copies of them as they are confidential. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, questions from board members? Mr. Huffman.
Sorry, I'm trying to dig it up while I'm listening from the package here, but I couldn't find it yet. Did the appellant, do you have the real estate taxes paid in 2023? Like, could you pull that number?
2023?
Yeah.
Well, it was assessed at 300 million, so what's the tax rate's about $1, so that you're over $300 million. I mean, yeah. $3 million, sorry.
More plus or minus 3 million. Okay.
Yeah,
It
about,
was
yeah.
about $1.12 last year.
Okay.
For
$1.12.
commercial properties.
Well, it wasn't $1.12. It's like it's blended because there's only 13,000 square. But it's about, let's call it 3.2 million. I can get the number if you really want it.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is when you've got NOI like in the county summary sheet, that's before the deduction of property taxes, right?
Yeah,
So
there's
if you've
no
got
property
17
taxes.
million in NOI that you're listing from the
Right.
county summary, it's actually 14 million in NOI the way
Correct.
the industry would look at it, right? So when you
Correct.
quote a 5.5 cap rate being a market cap rate, you're talking about a cap rate with NOI being after taxes. The county's talking about a cap rate with NOI being.
If you look at right, when you look at our base rate cap rates, right? 4.5 or 4.25 for the county, and we're at 5.5 for the base cap rate. And then you add the tax rate because the property taxes are not included. You load the tax rate because it's a circular reference, right? You can't, you're solving for taxes. So you, but in essence, it's basically 100 basis points plus difference between our cap rates.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, Ms. Shuttlesworth, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Okay, so the property has been experiencing increases in net operating income and a decrease in vacancy. We projected less than 1% increase in our test columns G and G1. And lastly, the appellant states that the subject was advertised for sale during the summer of 2023. They received 4 written offers ranging from 105 to 117 million. It never went to closing. In the pro forma, the appellants believe that the value should be 270 million. So the offers they received were significantly below what the seller would hope for. The cap rate of 105 million offer combined with the 2022 NOI would have been 15%.
Sorry.
I asked the board to confirm the subject's assessment of $317,231,500. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Conklin, if you take a minute to wrap up.
Yeah,
sir.
just one quick thing. That offer of 100 and that was a different property. It's Ava Ballston. This is Ava Ballston Square. So I'm not sure where that confusion is. A couple points on the sales that Mr. Chikes pointed out. In the 2023 sales, 2 of them at least are not institutional grade properties. The 2024 sales, 3 of them were not institutional grade properties. They are not comparable at all. It doesn't matter what the cap rate is on them. My guess is they're value add properties, and that's maybe why the cap rate's so low. The county points to PWC's they are literally at the bottom of the range of 4.25. It's not occurring anywhere in the market as evidenced by our sale, UDR's sale, our marketed properties. The county points to increased NOI. Of course, there was increased NOI. We were coming out of the pandemic, so as things increase back to market rates, burned off concessions. Of course, NOI is increasing. It was increasing across the country. It's not specific to Arlington. And if you're going to consider increased NOI as a reason for just adjust, then you have to consider what cap rate happened to cap rates, and the county has completely ignored it. A 10 basis point adjustment is absolutely nothing, and it doesn't reflect what's actually occurring in the marketplace. And again, we're looking at 15% differences in valuation. It's a lot of money that the county is overstating in value, period.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you both. Okay, it's just among the board members. Where's everybody on this? Mr. Metzger.
This is kind of directed at Greg, I think, but obviously anybody can chime in. How about this loaded versus unloaded cap rate? This comes up routinely. The county dismisses or doesn't include, I'm sorry, the taxes and the appellant, as I understand it, based on your interchange, but I figured it out in advance, that's why they're the appellant's claiming 100 basis points more for a realistic cap rate versus what the county is including, basically 4.5 or less versus 5.5 or more. I'm sorry, Mr. Conklin, you can't be a part of this. This is just the board.
I can answer the question.
No,
But it's Greg.
just among the board members
It's
now.
Greg. I mean, loaded versus unloaded can't be 100 basis points, right? I mean, this is common. This comes up all the time, but not at 100 basis points or more. Did I miss something, Greg? And anybody else who's got a feel, yes, please on the board chime in.
I mean, that's what the effective difference in the cap rate is if you take the taxes out before or after NOI. So if you're at a 5.5, with the taxes included in your NOI, you're effectively at a 4.5 the way the county's looking at it. So, which doesn't exist in this market. I mean, the appellant's right on that. Unless you're somewhere out, in another region where there's 10 to 15% rent growth every year and you're looking forward, we don't really have that. We're a little bit more stable here in Arlington. So you're not going to see a cap rate below, the 10-year treasury unless there's significant rent growth underway. There is rent growth though. I mean, I'm looking at it. 2023 actuals, you've got growth since then. You factor that in. I still think this is probably not worth more than it was last year when we reduced to 307. So, I mean, I'd support just pegging it at 307. I got 299 on my valuation, but I'll listen to everybody else's opinions. We may just want to keep it at 307 for the time being.
Okay, where are other folks? Mr. Penaranda?
Yeah, I know last year we did a minor reduction, which was almost a little over $3 million. The only thing I did this time is pretty much similar to last year as far as the number, but I went up a little bit on the expenses on the original assessment on the apartment side, 24%. That brought the expenses up to, including the retail, to a little bit higher than the 2022 expense amount that we have. I brought the expenses to about $5,350,000. So by doing that change, pretty much I came up with a final value of $314,231,978. So we round out to 232. So it's a reduction similar to last year, but not as far as what Mr. Hoffman is suggesting.
I'm sorry, and what was the final number, Mr. Penaranda?
314 million. It would round to 232,000.
All right, what do folks think about that?
It doesn't really make sense that the value would go up. That's all from last year.
I don't particularly agree with that. I mean, this is a premier location. Since the revitalization of the mall, parts of the mall are not doing so well, but the mall, the immediate neighborhood in general is doing extremely well. And also coming out of COVID, I think that the value is there. Having said that, I like Jose's approach, which is consistent with our approach last year, reduced a little bit for the exact same reason that Jose is suggesting we do this year. So I would support Jose's position, but I absolutely do think that it's more valuable this 2023 than over 2022. Again, based on its location and the retail sector doing pretty well in Ballston relative to.
Yeah, I mean, Ken, I'm with you on the actual like desirability of the neighborhood and all those factors, but it all boils down to the price of money.
Oh,
And
well,
so if the price of money is two times what it was in 2021, the value of a $300 million asset that's essentially future cash flows is going to take a huge hit. I mean, that's the entire real estate industry right now. So
yeah, we had that exact same conversation last year on all these kinds of otherwise quality buildings.
yeah,
And I think our conclusion was that we'd have to redo all the commercial property, including multifamily, in the entire county. And I'm not prepared to do that.
yeah. Yep.
All right, Mr. Yates, where are you? Turn your microphone on, please.
I do see this somewhat reduction, but the building's worth a good deal. I don't know that it's gone down. I do recognize the value of the money going in, and it's just that the buyers aren't there for it yet. But the building's a good building. When I say buyers, I'm talking about the market. Building's a good building producing. But I can see Jose's arguing with the expenses a little bit. I could do it.
Mr. Mendez?
Yeah, I like Mr. Penorando's number. To Mr. Maskin's point, I don't think the building has gone down in value. Rents are, pretty strong in the area, of course. So I would live with Mr. Penorando's number. I think it was 314, right?
Yes, 314, 232.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Penaranda, would you like to make a motion and state your full rationale?
Sure. I'll make the motion to make a reduction to 314,232,000, and that's based on increasing the expenses on the apartment side to 24% from the original assessment.
All right. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Mendez? Okay, motion a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is 5-1 without Mr. Hoffman. The assessment's reduced to 314,232,000 based on increasing the expenses on the apartments to 24%. Thank you.
Thank you, board. Thank you, David.
Thanks. Can I speak to Mr. Matskin's question about the cap rates? I'm not about the case, and just in general, so that like there's no misunderstanding going forward for other people. Is that okay?
We should.
Generally, it's not allowed, but.
Oh, okay. Well, no, it's okay then. If you don't want to understand, it's okay.
If you want to provide it
I
to
don't
the
want to
department,
understand, but.
they could share it with us.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, Anita knows there's whatever. Go ahead. You don't want, it's okay.
I think if he's got a bunch of cases going forward and he's going to be using kind of a terminology going forward, we should make sure we understand what he's saying, and maybe we do it in a different setting,
Okay.
versus.
It would take 2 seconds, but it's okay.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say there's a confusion with the loaded cap rate, right? But what you're really doing is you're either going to look at the base rate cap rate or the total cap rate, and that's the difference. That's the base rate is a market cap rate. So what the county is saying is 4.25. We're saying it's 5.5. And then with both of those numbers, you add back the tax rate, right? Because there's no taxes in the expense line. So that tax number is not the tax load percentage is not changing, right? It should be the same for us and for the county, right? The difference is that base cap rate. And so what we're saying is it's 5.5 and the county's saying it's 4.5. So that spread there is the difference in our argument, in our cap rate argument. We're saying the market is 5.5 and the county's saying it's 4.5. That's the difference, right? It's no different than us saying our expense ratio is 35% and the county's at 30, right? You're just looking at that spread. The tax rate should be exactly the same for the appellant and the jurisdiction, period.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'll bring it up next time you come because
Okay, sorry.
5.5 county cap rate, and you keep
So
saying
so the last case, the county's assessment was actually a 5.7 cap on 2023 income using the base rate.
Yes.
That's where the assessment was. We reduced it slightly from that.
Okay.
you're talking last year.
If you took the 2023 from the INE, the county summarized it neatly in column F. It's a 5.7 base rate cap rate. The appellant said it should be a 5.5, but using all the standard deductions and whatnot that's in the test columns and then saying the retail is worth a different value, even though the market views this property as a mixed use multifamily property and would probably put, you know, a 5.5 or a 5 to it.
Mr. Hoffman, just a quick correction on that. The 5.7 is actually the NOI growth year over year. The cap rate that the department used was 5.45.
Okay. Well, I think I got it at close to that. Maybe I'm remembering 5.4.
Yeah, 5.45, and then the 5.7 is the growth.
Okay.
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 All right. That completes the agenda. Is there any other business? No.
Thank you.
Okay, we will stand adjourned here at 10:12 a.m. Reconvene on Thursday this week based on the holiday tomorrow, Thursday, June 20th at 9 a.m. in person for the board members. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you.